You are more than a body. Your mind is vast and unlimited. You are more than your fine, juicy, luscious body. Your mind is vast and unlimited. And that is the deeper essence of your identity and your existence. You are in perfect communication with all forms of life at all times. You are in perfect communication with all forms of life at all times. You need only withdraw your attention from your perception of your body. You need only withdraw your attention from your perception of your body. You need only withdraw your attention from your perception of your body. You need only withdraw your attention from your perception of your body to access communication with anyone at any time. You need only withdraw your attention from your perception of your body to access communication with anyone at any time. Now remember, you need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. None of that will matter or decrease the idea's effectiveness. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. We're still in the section in the way of mastery. It's called You Decide Which Thoughts Influence Your Life. And we're going to be on page 326 in the section that's called Part 3, The Way of Knowing. I'm going to cover some of the material, then I'm going to throw it open for a few minutes for questions or comments, and then I'm going to go through some more material. Please hold your questions until the question period, so that we can move forward in the material like we've been doing. We've been making great progress. I'm so proud of us. And we're going to start with the paragraph that says, this means that the body itself is constantly receiving input. Your body is constantly receiving input. Your body is constantly receiving input. Your body is constantly receiving input in the form of subtle energy vibration from everything and everyone around it. So right now, your body is constantly receiving input from the energies and vibrations from everybody around you. You are like a giant radio station that's picking up and transmitting signals constantly. You are transmitting signals and picking up signals constantly. You're doing it right now. If you would like proof of this, and especially if you would like proof of how powerful thought is as it expresses through vibrations of the body, Then simply create what you call in your world dowsing rods, which is what we left off last week. Take 2 pieces of metal. It could be 2 parts of a coat hanger. Bend them so that you can gently hold one end and hold them in your hands about 6 inches from your body. Then have a friend stand about 20 feet away and have that friend think thoughts of negativity, such as I'm unworthy, I'm not worthy of being loved, I have no energy, I'm not worth anything. And as they are doing that, walk towards your friend and see how close you get before your dowsing rods of metal begin to move around. Then back up and find just the edge where their energy field is influencing the rods. Then back up about 20 or 30 feet and have them change their mind. Have them begin to think loving thoughts such as I'm one with God, love flows through me perfectly, I'm so glad to be alive. They don't need to say it out loud. They don't need to move a muscle. They just need to think differently. Then again, walk toward them and see when you find the point where the rods in your hands begin to move about. You will find that their energy field is much larger with the positive thought than with the negative thought. All right. Then jump over to on page 327 where it says, now I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. There's some people when they come to classes like this that they're hearing that their thought is creative and that they're not victims and that they're spiritual beings having human experience. It makes them feel really comfortable because they always felt that there was more to this than what they were being taught and what they were being told since they were the time that they were children. And when they study something like the Way of Mastery or the Course in Miracles, it feels more like they're remembering something that they already knew but nobody was telling them. And then there are people who all of these concepts and ideas are very, very new, and then they analyze them and drive themselves crazy because they're trying to compare what they've learned with what this is teaching, and they don't meet. They're 2 entirely different thought systems. This is 2 different ways of thinking, and they're opposite in every way. So when you try to fit one into the other, it won't make sense to you. Then you look to try to see whether or not you see the validity of what this new thought system is saying. And many times that doesn't work either because you're physically experiencing the results of the thought system that's opposite to it that you've already learned. So therefore you don't seem to get the validation in your outer world. It looks like people are doing things to you. It looks like you're a victim. It looks like you don't have power over what it looks like is happening to you sometimes. So when something like the Way of Mastery says, nothing happens to you without your consent. That every single thing that occurs is part of your spiritual evolution. That you are transmitting and receiving all the time. You are drawing to people to you in your life based on your own consciousness and your own thinking. That can seem like a way out idea because we have a tendency to think that what we think is what we really think. So then I think that whatever I'm telling myself in this moment is what I really think. And I'm overlooking the fact that 90% of our thought is unconscious and subconscious. Most of our thoughts we're not even aware of. We're just only aware of the thoughts we're focusing on at any given time. So if you look at it like there was 1,000 thoughts laying on the floor, whichever thought I focus on, I'm going to say that's what I'm thinking right now. And then I'm going to exclude all the rest of the thoughts that are there and don't realize they're still doing their thing. I'm just not focusing in on it right now. That light doesn't stop shining because I turn my head in this direction and I'm not looking at the light right now. It's still shining, right? So those thoughts that you have in your mind that you don't know you have are still creating your perceptions and experiences even when you're not focusing on them. So it doesn't necessarily require you to be conscious at every moment of what you're thinking. Like your body is digesting food and your heart is beating and your lungs are operating and you're not sitting up here going, heart, beat, lungs, breathe, blood, circulate. In other words, if you had to be consciously in control of all your body functions, you pass out on the floor and die right now. So that means that we've got unconscious things that are always happening that's keeping us going that we don't know about. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, well extend that beyond the body to your whole mind and your whole experience, which means you have a lot of unconscious thoughts that are doing their thing also that you don't know about. So it's very important to remember that your latest self-image is not necessarily who you are. It's just the way you're seeing yourself right now and the way that you're looking at things right now. But it's not who you are. Like most of you would say, you know, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. right? And 10 years from now, guess what you're going to say about the self that's sitting in the chair right now? You're going to say, this isn't you either. So the way of mastery is just saying, why don't you just go ahead and save some time and say that's true right now? This you that you think is you, it won't be the you think is you 10 years from now either. Because it's just an image of yourself that you're making up in this particular moment that you're identifying with. So now you say, this is you. But it's just your latest conglomeration of interpretations about yourself that you think is real. That's it. It's just a mass of memories and learnings and experiences that you're calling you. And so what the Way of Mastery is saying, and the Course in Miracles is saying, is that you have a true identity that does exist, that's beyond the you that you think you are, and that we're learning how to get rid of the blocks in our thinking that keeps us from being aware of our unlimited self, that is complete love, complete power, complete innocence, and still joined to Source. Okay? And as soon as you say you're ready to get in touch with that new self that you want to get in touch with, then the part of you that you've made up is going to resist it. So it's very important to realize you're not stuck in any particular thought, feeling, emotion, belief, that anything you believe about yourself can be changed, because the only thing that can't be changed is the fact that you're innocent and that you're loved and that you're powerful and that you're valuable and that you're unlimited. That can't be changed. Everything else is going to change. That's why everything in the world changes, because nothing in the world is based on that which is real. Something that's real is permanent, constant, everlasting. Something that's not real is temporary, and it constantly changes. And so that's why we have to learn to stop fighting change, because all the changes that are happening in our lives, all of those changes are for our own best interests, and they're all moving us toward that unlimited being that we've forgotten that we are. Fortunately, anything that we make up that's not based on the truth never lasts, or else we would stay in horrible situations forever. So it's good that if you have a relationship that's not right for you, it doesn't last. It's great if you have a job that makes you miserable, you get laid off. It's wonderful if you're in any situation that's not based on love, that situation is guaranteed to end, no matter how hard you try to hold on to it. And the more unreal it is, the harder you have to struggle to keep it. Okay, so we're trying to, we are like I said, we're these radio stations that are broadcasting and transmitting and receiving, and what we're trying to do is move to a brand new channel. You see what I'm saying? You know, you can watch a channel that shows you the latest in love and truth and peace, or you can watch a channel that's full of fear and disaster. We're trying to change the channel. And if you're really smart, what you do is let your higher self change the channel for you. That's when you really know you're getting some sense. When you stop trying to change it and you're saying, I'm willing to let you, just like when I was a kid. See, when I was a kid, I was the remote control. Get them to go change their channel. And then back then, TVs actually flipped and stuff. And they would twirl, and you have to go and turn the vertical knob and all this kind of stuff. So I was all of it. I was remote control. And so what I'm saying is, my mom had it done for her. And the Course in Miracles and all these spiritual teachings are teaching us the same thing. You can have it done for you if you're willing to learn how to communicate with your greater expansive God self. You could have all the stuff you're struggling about, you could have done for you. That's what I'm shooting for. I want to allow myself to be a conduit of that which is God and that which is divine. I want it to use me. Whatever created this, obviously you got the power. So I want you to use me. And that's what the Way of Mastery books are like that about. They're about teaching us how to get out of our own way so that we can finally have the love that we deserve. Okay, but it requires a beginner's mind, and a beginner's mind is someone who's willing to say, I don't know all there is to know. The Course in Miracles says, if you say that you don't know everything, then your learning can begin. So I'm willing to admit to everyone in this room, I do not know all there is to know. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that means we have a beginner's mind, right? Now, what is the area that we know the least about something? It's the area we're most unhappy in. So wherever you're the most afraid, the most unhappy, you got chairs here and chairs back there, and there are chairs upstairs, and there's steps right there you can sit on. You know what I'm saying? So there are choices. So what I'm saying to you right now is whatever area of your life that you have the greatest amount of fear, upset, disorientation, and confusion is actually where you're least aware of what's really going on. But that's usually the area that people try to take control of the most. The area that they're most upset, most unhappy, most broke, most everything is where they say, well, I'm going to take over. Well, that's the problem. Is that you've already taken over. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not going to let Stevie Wonder drive me around. You know, I'm just not going to do it. So if you feel like you're full of lack and you're broke as a dog and you don't know how to handle money, you're not the person to be your financial advisor. You know what I'm saying? If you never have relationships that bring you peace, you might want to turn to something greater. So that's why we're doing this. So it's saying right here, now I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but you have not stopped to consider how profoundly important it is in the nature of your own life. You know that you respond to a happy person, to a kind person, to a loving person more than you would to a person who is being so-called wicked. It's simple common sense. You know that you love to be around beings that talk about unlimitedness. You love to be around beings that talk about unlimitedness, that talk about great vision. Why? Because they are reminding you that you too are a great visionary, that unlimitedness is the natural state of the kingdom of heaven, which is just another term for reality. It's funny, the Course teaches that we have it exactly reversed. We think the dream is what's so cool, but reality is where all the pain is located. So people are much more into their dreams than they are into what they think of as reality. The truth is, it's just the opposite. Reality is what is love and what is totally fulfilling, and it's the dream that the pain is located, that the hurt is located, that the temporary joy is located. Notice I said temporary joy is located. And a dream is inherently unsatisfying because dreams end. Dreams change unexpectedly. You know, in dreams, anything can happen. You've all had that experience. So one of the characteristics of a dream is that it has no true stability, nothing in it lasts, and it's undependable, and it could change in a second in any way that you can imagine. That sounds familiar. So what the Course is teaching and the Way of Mastery is teaching is that I'm not going to get rid of your dreams. What I'm going to do is give your dreams a new purpose, and I'm going to give your dreams a new content. I'm going to show you how to have dreams that reflect reality. Dreams that reflect love, dreams that reflect abundance, dreams that reflect unity and oneness. So, of course, the Miracles and the Way of Mastery, it's called the happy dream. It says what happens is you go from what you think of as an unhappy dream, what you would call my unhappy physical experience, to a happy dream, which you would call your happy physical experience, to awakening, which is us awakening to that which we came from. So you don't go directly from I'm the most miserable being in the world to reality where there's total and complete fulfillment and bliss. You have to go, you got an in-between step. First I'm afraid here, now I'm not afraid here, now I go to somewhere even different that's even better. Okay? So you and I should be thankful that everything here changes, because that means no matter what we're going through, it can change for the better. It means that no matter what you think you're experiencing right now, it could change for the better. Whatever you think you are experiencing right now could change for the better. Whatever you think you are experiencing right now can change for the better. Whatever you think you are experiencing right now can change for the better. Whatever you are experiencing right now can change for the better. Whatever you're experiencing right now can change for the better. Yeah. It's a totally disappointing statement. Do you know why that kind of statement does not sometimes evoke a lot of joy? Because we still think we're in charge of how that happens, and we don't know how in the heck to do it. So it sounds like I'm saying something that's impossible simply because you still think you're the one that has to do it and you're the one that's in charge. But not only that, you don't know what to do. So I think I'm in charge and I don't have any idea about how to do it. Sounds like a fearful position. Right, so when someone says you could be happy, you could be abundant, you could have all the things you want, of course we don't jump up and down because we still think we're autonomous, separate, on our own, and have to figure it all out ourselves. And of course they won't turn you on. It just seems like it's almost an impossible mission. But what's cool is that you won't go for the higher level until you realize it's impossible for you to do it alone. It's when you start focusing on things that you don't know how to do and things you can't do alone, then you're no longer alone. Because it requires connection and joining and tuning into something greater than your own limited mind in order to accomplish unlimited love. So the minute you go, unlimited love, love everybody, total abundance and peace that never ends, a joy that I can always count on no matter what, it immediately is beyond our capabilities and our perception as to how we would possibly know how to do that. And that means that in that instant, you're now unconsciously asking for wisdom greater than your own. So when you stay within your realm of knowledge, you're limiting what you can experience because there's only so much that you think you know. But most people choose comfort and safety over evolving and transmuting and transforming. You know, there's discomfort that comes from doing something that's not right for you, and there's discomfort that comes from healthy change that you're going through. They're two, and the way you can tell the difference between the two is healthy discomfort, there's disorientation because you're going to a higher level, you're still motivated to keep moving in that direction no matter what's happening. The discomfort doesn't stop you, the challenge doesn't stop you, the disorientation doesn't stop you, you still keep going towards your goal. That's how you know. You want to do it, opposition seems to come up, your desire to do it pulls you past the opposition. I don't want to do it, opposition comes up, that's not what I should be doing. How did I know? I didn't want to do it in the first place and opposition is coming up. How do I know that I should go past the opposition and keep going? Because I should do it, but just opposition is coming up. Because the attraction of the thing beyond the obstacle will pull you past the obstacle. You're so attracted to the thing beyond the obstacle, you won't let nothing stop you. That's how you go past the obstacle, and therefore you know it doesn't mean that's not something that you should be doing just because some struggle shows up. Why? Because I want to do it. But when you're operating from your security center, you just do things because you think that's what's going to take care of you, even if you hate it, which defines most jobs that most people get up every morning to go do. They're acting from their lowest level of consciousness, which is the security center, and not the highest level, which is the crown center, which is tuning you into that which is beyond what you think and what you've been taught. So we're climbing, we're on the stairway to heaven. And we're going to go through our 7 spiritual centers to do that. So then it goes on to say, the problem is that you have unwillingly taught yourself to live in fear. I bet you some of you may find that you've been coming to this class for weeks, and there have been people coming to this class for weeks, and you don't even know their name. You never even introduced yourself to them. You never even said hello. But you're totally convinced that you're ready to join with your brothers and sisters in unlimited love and bliss.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? But it's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm here because I want to love and be loved, and I want to connect, and I want to join. I'm in the room full of other people who want the same thing, and I haven't even spoken to them in months. But I'm convinced that I am on a very high level of consciousness. So I'm not condemning, I'm just reflecting how ridiculous that is and how much we'll fool ourselves into thinking that sometimes we're where we aren't yet. And why haven't we spoken to anyone in that period of time. There's a variety of reasons. You know, fear is a good one. But one of the main reasons is, according to the Course, is that I haven't seen anybody in the room that I feel can truly take care of a special need that I have, enough to make sure that I get to know them and spend time with them, which I call no one that I'm attracted to. That's the code name for it. There's no one I've really been attracted to, which means there's no one that I perceive as being able to meet a need that I think I have, according to the fantasies that I have about what it is I think I'd like to have. Because if I only wanted the truth and to recognize the truth and practice the truth of remembering who I really am as love and remembering who you are as love and us reminding each other of that, each and every one of you would be equally valuable to me. If all I wanted was the truth, I could experience that at some level with either any of you. But if there is a need my ego has, a special need my ego has, then I'm going to pick and choose among you as to who I think is worthy of my attention. So when it's something that's real, you can do that with everybody. When it's something that's not real, there are only certain people you can do unreal stuff with. And then the truth says, well, how do I know it's unreal? Because that's the only person you can do it with. Oh, that kind of explains my love life, my sex life, my jobs, everything, my experience with everything and everybody. Okay, so what are you doing feeling guilty about doing something that's not real in the first place? Will you explain that to me? There's not a thing that you would do in your body that 300 years from now is going to matter to anybody. They're not going to even know you did it. So most people are carrying around guilt about nothing that really matters. If everyone was sitting up here and they were nude, you wouldn't be able to tell what anybody did, what kind of profession they were in, what they did in the world, whether they were a mother, a father, whether they were single, whether they were married, whether they were a postman, or whether they were a checker at the grocery store. Why? Because when it's not real, you have to explain it, categorize it, describe it, share it, or, to cut to the chase, name it. So again, most of the things we're freaking out about are things that don't even exist. They're all made up. They're concepts. So stop feeling guilty about nothing. Stop feeling guilty about nothing. But good people feel guilty. If you're a good person, you feel guilty about everything, because everybody knows if you don't feel guilty, you must be a sociopath. So if I'm extra good, what am I going to feel?
Extra guilty.
Extra guilty. So nice people feel much more guilt than people who think they're not nice and don't mind the fact that they're not nice. So people who think they're nice and they have to feel guilty about everything they think they've done, and they don't realize that when you feel guilty, it's a request to the universe to punish you. Then the nice people wonder why so many things happen to them that's not so nice, and they don't realize their own guilt is requesting the pain that they're going through. Because they're so nice. So they need to suffer. Then you'll be okay. You know what I'm saying? When I would disobey my mother back in the days when kids definitely got spanked. All right? The most horrible part of the whole thing was waiting until she got home. It was the anticipation of the punishment was almost worse than anything that actually happened. But once I got my spanking, me and my mama were cool. I had been absolved of my guilt, and I could go back and do the same thing again. Because you're going to always do the thing you feel guilty about again. So the more guilty you make a person, the more you're guaranteeing you'll keep getting a repetition of the thing that you are so upset with them about. Right? So we are still acting out that same premise unconsciously as adults, only we become the punishing parents for ourselves. So I feel guilty, I give myself a punishing relationship. I give myself a punishing financial situation. I give myself a punishing health situation. I give myself a punishing career situation because I'm trying to right the wrong by punishing myself so I'll be okay again. So the next time you're feeling guilty and you are a transmitter, just realize one thing. You're telling your environment, the universe, and everyone around you to spank your butt in some form or another. So if you're a nice person always suffering, you have a lot of unconscious guilt and self-punishment going on right now because you think you're a nice person, so you need to suffer for your sins, what you think you've done wrong. Is this making any sense to anybody besides me? Okay. So how do you stop that pattern? You change it from a guilt or a sin to a mistake. A mistake is not attractive to the mind. People hate to make mistakes. That's why people would rather be right than be happy. Because we don't want to we want to get up all day and don't make any mistakes all day long. We want to do everything perfectly all day. So if I say choosing a certain type of situation or relationship or circumstance, and I notice I got a pattern and I say it's a mistake for me to keep doing this, instead of saying I feel guilty about doing this, the mind will automatically want to correct it. Because the mind has been programmed your entire life to what? Not make mistakes. So if you call it a mistake to attack, if you call it a mistake to judge, if you call it a mistake to not let yourself know your abundance, if you call it a mistake, now in New Age jargon, everything is right. There's no such thing as a mistake. Good luck with that. Okay? Good luck with that. You don't have time to try every option available to you. So it would be kind of okay to say to yourself, you know, maybe it's a mistake for me to cuss somebody out all day long. Instead of saying, well, all things are right. Ultimately, yeah. But you don't have, like the Course in Miracles says, yeah, but you don't have time enough to try all roads. You'll die first. So in the body. So it would be best for you to say, this is right-minded for me, this is wrong-minded for me. This is a mistake, this is what I should be doing. Because it'll save you time and it will save you pain. Right? Like I had someone come up Sunday and they were saying to me that the one little critique that they had about the class was that I think I used something that sounded like masculine terminology, even though I was constantly, and I always do that when I'm teaching, I use alternative choices that you can use. Love, God, universe, Father. And because a long time ago, I used to have all that resistance to the masculine terminology of the Course and all that kind of stuff. And then I reached a point that I realized that didn't have nothing to do with nothing. That was just a big distraction to make it a big deal, whether it was masculine, feminine, whatever. What counts is what's the content that you're hearing, not the form that it's written in. It doesn't matter. And that was the suggestion I said. I said, well, actually, I'm giving alternative ways that you can say this other than masculine. But this person didn't want me to use any kind of masculine. So I thought it was interesting. I looked and I said, you might want to consider you changing the meaning that you're giving it more so than trying to get everyone to speak another way for you to be okay. Because if you make your happiness dependent, and this is what I was thinking, if you make your happiness dependent on everybody saying things the way you want to hear it, you're not going to be very happy in your life. The minute you set it up where everybody else has to act a certain way for you to feel okay, can't you see that you set it up that you're going to be a massive control freak? And a control freak in a way that's not going to work, because you'll never get everybody to speak and act the way you want them to in order for you to be happy. So it's okay for you to express what you are feeling, and I'm always willing to listen with an open mind. But the real gift would be for you to get to the point that you only give meaning to things that give you in a way that gives you peace. Give it a different meaning. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on recognizing that I'm the one that gives it all the meaning. So why am I saying all this? Because he says you taught yourself to live from fear, to think negative thoughts, to believe that the opinions of the world mean something. So to get to the higher level of consciousness of joy, you have to stop thinking other people's opinions mean something. Other people's opinions don't mean anything unless you give them meaning. No one's opinion has to affect you at all. Wow. Whew. And we tend to hate people who act that out. When you meet someone who will really stick to their thoughts, their beliefs, their values, no matter what you say or no matter what you think, it can be the most irritating experience that your ego ever has, to meet someone who really claims their power and do not change because you don't like it, or who tell the truth, whether you like it or not. Because you'll never experience true freedom until you get to that level of consciousness, because there'll always be people in the world that thinks their happiness depends on your change. So unless you get to the point that you go, you know what, I'm going to do what I feel I need to do from my heart and from my guidance, you'll never know true peace. So you have to let go of everybody has to like you. I wouldn't be sitting here if I thought everybody had to like me or had to agree with me for me to be sitting up here. Right? Because there are as many different perceptions as there are people. Just throwing out some stuff that'll make it real easy. And this is kind of hard at first if you're a accommodator and you're a people pleaser. It's very challenging for accommodators and people pleasers to do what I'm saying. This is like acid to them. Okay, the ones who try to please everybody end up pleasing nobody. Okay, and so it says to us, you have literally created a world in which people are negatively minded. Did it say you have literally created a world in which people are negatively minded, do not want to support you, and do not think you're worth anything? Yet you are the one that is projecting that belief about yourself. Wow. So are you telling me, Spirit, that if people are negative around me and that people don't want to support me and I'm around people who don't think I'm worth anything, that the only reason why they're there is I'm projecting a belief about myself that I'm now experiencing? Are you saying to me that my personal world is nothing but a reflection of my beliefs about myself?
Yep.
So much for me not knowing what I really believe. All I have to do is take a close look at my environment. So I'm going to throw this out to you. Is your environment an environment of love and nurturing? Or are you in an environment that seems antagonistic to you most of the time, except when you're around very special people who will then be antagonistic against you if you don't act right? So even your few nice people are only being nice as long as you act within a certain realm of behavior and script. Even the nice ones. So what could I do? I could either say that's a lie, that's not true, because I really am a nice person and I really do have loving beliefs about myself, but people are just mistreating me. Or I could say This is a projection of my thoughts. What are the thoughts that I'm now going to choose to think so that I can change that projection? Those are the two choices. One is, no, I'm not doing that. I'm really, people just doing things to me that I don't really deserve and I have nothing to do with. Or, wow, I see I have some thoughts that I really need to transmute and change and look at another way. And so I'm going to use my spiritual practices to give me new ideas and new thoughts so that I can start experiencing those in my physical reality. What's the quickest way to do it? The quickest way to do it is through joining. The quickest way to do it is by surrounding yourself with people that have a common purpose. The quickest way to do it is to give yourself a daily regimen that you feed yourself to new thoughts for at least an hour a day, every day. That's the quickest way to change it. Does that mean that temporarily I might have to stop being around some people that I'm around right now? Temporarily I might need to take myself away from my own projections of negativity just for a minute until I allow these new ideas to start to grow strong within myself because I'm sharing them with someone who's not opposing them? Yes. And then when I become rooted in my new beliefs, I can go right back around those people again if I choose to and not be affected by them at all. So I'm not putting them out of my life. I'm allowing myself to become rooted in a new idea that I'd like to experience about myself. And that's what makes stuff like this so valuable. Unless you're a know-it-all. And that's one form of the ego, is the know-it-all self. The superior self. The antagonistic self. So it says, you are the one that is projecting that belief about yourself, and you therefore will attract a like vibration. For like attracts like. Like attracts like. If you therefore want to attract beings who will support you, if you want to attract beings who will love you, decide to be a being who supports and loves. Your man would say, them. No, that's not the answer. Be a being who supports and loves yourself. Now that's odd, isn't it? To think that if I want to be around people who love and support me, my mind would say I should be a being who loves and supports them. The truth says no. I mean, you're going to do that too at some point. But the real way to do it is you start to love and support you. And when you love and support you, then they will love and support you. That kind of explains it. Because in the past, I've been trying to give that love to everybody else, thinking that they're going to give that love back to me, and I'm going to give that support to everybody else, and then they're going to give that support back to me, and it hasn't seemed to work consistently. And as a matter of fact, I kind of walked away feeling a few grievances, like I had really been a loving, cool person and hadn't really been appreciated. What I wasn't doing is loving Earl and supporting Earl and appreciating him and acknowledging him. I hope I treat myself as good as I treat other people one day. I hope I have the tolerance for me that I have for you. I treat other people better than I treat myself. Or I think about other people more than I think about myself. How I'm going to affect other people more than how I'm going to affect myself. So much so that a lot of times I'm tempted not to even say what I really think and really feel because of the concern about how it's going to be reacted to. What's some simple things that you could do to do that? Well, I could give myself get a nice massage every now and then. You know, it won't be the first time I pay somebody to put their hands on me. Maybe I'll take me out to dinner. Maybe I'll take me to the movie. Maybe I'll take me for a walk. You know what I'm saying? That's very simple. I'm not waiting for anybody else in that case, right? So then it says, after that it says, decide to open your arms wide as we spoke of in the last lesson, to receive the love, the presence, and the pleasure of God's presence, which is the pleasure of love's presence. Think only loving thoughts. Learn to master forgiveness. Dare to follow your heart. Dare to follow your heart. See how we get the instructions very simply and very clearly about what to do to change everything that we're unhappy about. It's not like we're not sitting here and being told exactly what to do. Well, if you want to be in a world, Earl, that people are supporting you and loving you, you need to be that way toward you. Thank you. Decide to open your arms wide and also be ready to receive the pleasure and presence of love. Think only loving thoughts. Learn to master forgiveness. Dare to follow your heart. Celebrate life. Celebrate life. Celebrate being here. Celebrate being alive. There are some brothers and sisters that are not having the experience that we're having right now at all. They'd give anything to be sitting in the building, not hungry, around people who are being loving and nurturing right now. But you know, I'm really upset because my brake light is out. One thing that people that have near-death experiences all say to me, or who go through some kind of horrific, challenging health thing, and they come out the other side, and they really thought they were going to make their transition, is the first thing they notice is how ridiculous the things are that people are making themselves unhappy about all the time. They always say that. You know, the things that you watch people be miserable about, it's just ridiculous. The ones you actually have your own physical mortality right in your face, and you'll see just how ridiculous it is what most people are unhappy about and not allowing themselves to celebrate life about. And I've definitely been one of those, you know. And so it says to us, walk as one confident in the light of Christ. And what is Christ? The self we all share, the love we all are, that which is an extension of the divine. And it says, dare to look out upon the world and say, my Father, or you can say my Creator, has set the table before me, and every being and blade of grass is here to support my enjoyment of God. So my Creator has set this table before me, and every being, and every blade of grass is here to support. It said to support my enjoyment of God, to support my enjoyment of life, to support my enjoyment of love, to support my enjoyment of the universe. And it says, as you cultivate that kind of discipline, your life will change. Your life must change if you say these things with any level of sincerity. Your life must change. For the universe expands and responds to the vibrational quality that you are emitting. Everything responds to the vibrational quality that you are emitting. Everything is responding to the vibration you are emitting. Everything is responding to the vibration you are emitting. So you are the radio station of your own mind. You have a radio station in your own mind, and everybody's responding to your vibration. 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 Now, some of you may feel like I've heard this before, and it's really elementary at a metaphysical level, and it's not deep enough, but the truth is, if you got any level of lack of peace, you don't have it. You haven't realized it yet. You need to hear it just as much as anybody else. You know, and that's how our ego mess with us. Well, I know this. Well, how happy are you? How much do you celebrate life? How much do you feel the support and joy of everything around you? Well, then stop lying to yourself. You don't have it at all yet. And just admit you don't know it yet. You've heard it, but you haven't absorbed it and integrated it yet. And that's okay. So, question, comment, response to what I've covered so far.
I did have a comment because one of the things that I'm noticing with me and is that, you know, a lot of times I say these affirmations to avoid what I'm feeling, because I'll do anything to avoid uncomfortable feelings. And I'm starting to recognize that that's where the healing is at.
Is in what?
I've got to be willing to feel those feelings and not avoid them.
So why can't you feel your feelings, not avoid them, and tell yourself the truth?
Exactly.
Right. Rather than rather than telling yourself, I'm telling myself the truth to avoid my feelings, which would be a trick of your ego to keep you from telling yourself these thoughts. Notice that what came up was a reason for you not to tell yourself those thoughts, because it's helping me avoid my feelings.
Okay.
Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, because see what the ego, the part of us that doesn't know the truth and that's afraid and doesn't believe we deserve it, it is positively ingenious at coming up with ways to keep us not to do the very simple things that we're being told tonight. And that was a perfect example. You know, it said very logically, well, I tell myself these things, the truth, that I am loving, that I am loved, that I do deserve to be happy, and that's a way for me to avoid my feelings. Bottom line is, don't say these things, right? And then what the truth is saying is, tell yourself the truth. Feel your feelings. Feel all your feelings. Then tell yourself the truth. Feel all your feelings and then tell yourself the truth. It's not an either or.
Okay.
You see? Yeah. Do that. You'll be amazed at what will happen. Mm-hmm.
So the Magnificent Kate and I had dinner, and it was funny. I'm sure she's having a similar experience, because this was exactly the core of our conversation, was this element that both she and I are in the field of helping people grow in their self-esteem, and you cannot grow in your self-esteem if you do not love yourself. Right? I mean, self-esteem is about esteeming yourself. And so sitting here and having our conversation reaffirmed is amazing. But then to fall into that awareness that we really know we are loving ourselves when we are celebrating life.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
That's what the Course says. There's nothing harder for a fearful mind to see than the obvious. That the more you are afraid, the less you can see what the obvious. Like, what could be more obvious than, if I'm celebrating life, I must be loving myself. You know, that's like backing the loving myself up with some action. You know, how can I tell I'm a happy person? Usually, you're a smiling person. I mean, there are times you can be happy and not being smiling, but if you're really happy, you can't help it. You can sit up there and try not to smile. You know, so thank you. Yes, back in the back.
Can I ask a question? I haven't been a part of this course, so I don't know a lot. But I do have a question, or not really a question, but I'd like to hear you speak more about one particular topic, and that is the nature of forgiveness, if you would. And I'm talking about real forgiveness, when somebody does something, not necessarily to you, but say to your child. How do you forgive that person in a true sense?
The way that you forgive that person in a true sense. Well, the truth is more disturbing. The answer is more disturbing than your question. To be absolutely honest. Okay. Good. First of all, there's not anything that happens to anybody that's not happening without their own consent at some level. And babies are baby bodies. Little children are little children bodies. But they're just as old a soul as anyone else sitting here in the room, with all of their own lessons, karma, past experience, learnings, that their soul is also evolving also. So there's nothing that happens to anybody that's not happening at a soul level from their own consent from for their own spiritual growth. So the way that you forgive people ultimately is to recognize that there are no victims in any situation, and that nothing's happening to anybody because somebody else did it to them. That what's happening is happening because of that person's own consciousness at some level, to get them ultimately in touch with what it is they need to change about themselves and about their own mind. So, with that being said, you would constantly be as compassionate and understanding as you could possibly be in any situation with anybody. Like, for instance, that doesn't mean that I would not be compassionate about what a child went through, about what anyone went through. But true forgiveness is recognizing that everything that you're looking at is not anything but some level of lesson that soul is learning in this lifetime, because this is Earth's school. Mm-hmm. This is where souls come to get back in touch with the true meaning of love. This is where people come to meet their own thoughts and transmute them. You know, so no one is saying that I expect you to run up with open arms and hug somebody that you think has murdered somebody, even though when you become enlightened you will, because you realize you're never touching or looking at anybody but yourself. And that person has a deep fear, deep call for love, deep sense of unworthiness, deep sense of not loving themselves and feeling worthy and feeling valued. That's why they attacked, robbed, murdered, and killed. They didn't do that because they thought highly of themselves. They did that because of their own self-hatred and self-loathing and the fact that they didn't love themselves. And so people who believe they should be crucified for their errors are always the people that believe someone else should be crucified for theirs. So we punish instead of healing and correcting people who do things because of our own desire to be punished and our own desire to be crucified for the things that we do. And so ultimately love is going to be the only answer that's going to solve anything. So really forgiveness ultimately is love. Forgiveness ultimately is recognizing that there's another way to look at it other than the way that you're looking at it. Now, in classes like this, the questions that usually come up are questions that create such extreme emotional reactions that it makes it difficult for a person to forgive in smaller circumstances. Like, for instance, if you say, how can I forgive a person that somehow hurt a little child? Okay, that actually is an unconscious resistance to the idea of forgiving at all. So therefore, I'm going to cite the most extreme type of situation that would be the hardest to do, because that'll keep me from doing any of it at all. You know, if I say we create our reality and you say, what about the starving children in Africa? That's a very, just as an example, that's a very extreme situation. So by us trying to tackle how can I forgive the most extreme situations, it actually keeps us from taking those minor steps of how can I forgive the person who stole my parking space. So I always tell people in my classes, whatever you see as the hardest to forgive, like you said, a child being abused and misused, don't start there. I literally say, don't try to forgive the child molester first. Don't try to forgive the person that was speeding like the other Sunday night and then, you know, hit and run and kill an 11-year-old boy crossing the street with his cousin. Because all of those things actually become justification to not forgive, to not love, to not open our minds. And so it's a trick. It doesn't seem like it's a trick. It seems like it's very legitimate, and I totally understand that. But why start with the hardest thing first? And that's why I always suggest that. Don't start with the most extreme situation. If you were, don't start with the relative that you thought you were molested by when you were 5 years old. Put them at the back of the line and see if you can forgive the person who is rude to you when you're buying your ticket at the movie. Start with the small, because true forgiveness is love. True forgiveness is compassion. True forgiveness is asking for another way to look at it that will open your heart to see past whatever the thing is that's got you afraid and angry and holding grievances. True forgiveness is true perception. Forgiveness is understanding that there are but two things going on in this world. love or the call for love. That the only thing that's happening is we're expressing love for each other, or we are asking for love and the help of God. The Course says those are the two things that are happening, no matter what it looks like. Even if it looks like the most horrible thing you could possibly imagine, it is nothing but a reflection of fear and guilt. It's nothing but a reflection of self-hatred and self-loathing. And you're certainly not going to transcend that by meeting it with the exact same energy that's creating the thing that you say you don't like. If I hate the person who's attacking because they hate, am I really doing anything about the hate that's producing the situation? No. You can't solve a situation from the same level it was created on. You've got to go to another level to solve it, or else it never gets solved. So if I think that punishment is correction, which is the same as saying I believe that attack is the answer, how am I really any different from the person that did the attacking to begin with? You see what I'm saying? So if you want to attack, if you want to punish, if you want to condemn, there is nothing that this book says that you're going to like. There's nothing in any books on forgiveness and compassion and oneness and taking responsibility. That's just not, I admit it. You're not going to like this book if you still primarily want to condemn and attack. And I'm not saying that that's true about you, brother. I'm just saying that after doing this for 40 years, there are not a whole lot of new questions that I hear. And so what I'm doing is trying to share what I've learned to be the underlying thing a lot of times beneath the question, which is the ego doesn't want to forgive. and it'll say, you know, how can you be compassionate towards somebody that hurt somebody? And it's not that and what it's doing is it keeps me from wanting to forgive, doesn't it? Wouldn't be the bottom line is I don't want to forgive and I don't want to see you in a loving way because of what you did. So really, I have to ask myself, what is my motive? Do I want to see it another way? And I believe my brother back there wants to see it another way, or he wouldn't have asked the question. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not going to pretend that the truth is an easy pill to swallow when you grow up in a world that is based on defense and attack. I'm not. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that everything that these books say are going to be something we want to do. If I think I've been injured and I think somebody's hurt me and I think somebody's hurt somebody I love, there's a part of me that does not want to hear anything about forgiving them. I've seen people who've had relatives murdered asked for forgiveness for that person while the public wanted to kill the person. And it just freaks you out. It's like, you'll be mad at them for wanting to forgive the person that looked like hurt their particular family member. And that, it gives you some idea just how deep we get into attack and how much we want to be punished. That even when people who actually went through it want to forgive, we get upset with them. But you know what that person is doing? That person is guaranteeing that they're going to go to another level of vibration and consciousness that will not keep repeating that kind of a situation in their life. Because remember, if we are transmitting and receiving, if everything that we experience is coming from our vibration, then the safest way to be in the world is to be on the vibration that is not rooted in attack, so that you won't be drawing it to you. So the most important thing I can do is get out of my grievances and get out of my hate. Because my grievances and my hate, I don't care how justified I feel in it, they're going to draw to me attack. They're going to draw to me more people like that I'm complaining about. So I would much rather go, you know what, I've done things in my life that sometimes would have seemed cruel to other people. I also have attack thoughts. Maybe my cruel thoughts and maybe my attack thoughts don't take the form of hurting a child, but I have had attack thoughts. And that person had attack thoughts. That person had hate for themselves. There's a part of me that has hate for me too. In other words, I'm not going to see myself different from them, Because if I see myself as different from them, then they're going to keep showing up in my reality until I realize they're not different from me. Mm-hmm. They have fear, I have fear. They have attack thoughts, I have attack thoughts. They don't always do it right, I don't always do it right. They have selfish thoughts where they're looking out for themselves out of fear, so they attack. Sometimes in my life, I've had selfish thoughts where I looked out for myself more than anybody else. I am not different from them. And as long as you think you're different from them, then you're going to continue to have them show up in your life. Just check it out. I mean, it may make you feel really, really like a nice person. It makes you feel superior. You know, I would never be like that. But it keeps them in your experience. Yes, I could be like that. I'm just choosing not to be like that. Yes, there's a part of me that sometimes have thought that if there are people that believe that there were no black people on earth, then the earth would be a better place. There are people that believe that there were no white people on earth, it would be a better place. There are people who believe there wasn't any Americans on earth, it would be a better place. And there are Americans that believe that if it wasn't people in the Middle East, it would be a better place. And and we wonder why we are in a world like that. As long as we believe that way, we'll be around other people that believe that way. It's not until I go, I am the Muslim, I am the white person, I am the Indian, I am the murderer, I am the angel, I am the robber, I am the priest. They're all me. It's at that point that I neutralize those energies and I won't have to deal with that all the time in my physical reality. It's not in me saying I'm superior, I'm different, I'm nothing like that. Because when you tell that lie, the universe will have those people in your face all the time until you get to the point that you admit you make errors too, you have fear too, you sometimes have selfish thoughts too. That's the way out. That's the way out. Now, does that take a real desire to have to change my mind about the way I look at things? Yeah. Am I at this point right now that somebody could run over my kid and I'd rush up to him with a big hug and say, I love you with the love of God? No. That's being real too. But do I want to get to the point that I can see that in another way? Because there is another way I could look at it, but the way that would be so radical that it would be too much for the average person to do. It would be something like me saying that somehow or another for my son's soul evolution or my daughter's soul evolution or their child's soul evolution, they had completed their sojourn on earth and it was time for them to go to another level for their own soul development, and they chose to leave the world in this way because of the lessons that the people would learn who were left behind, that they would have to learn as a result of that transition that would make them more compassionate, more understanding, and trigger some level of growth that they needed to have as a result of me leaving here by appearing to be hit by a hit-and-run driver. I am an immortal soul. I am an unlimited spiritual being created by God that never ends. I'm more than my body. I'm more than my flesh. And who that child is still lives tonight. See, that's the truth. But it's a lot easier to say that low-down dog ran over that kid and killed him. And I hate them forever, and they need to put him under the jail forever. See, that doesn't take any real stretch of your consciousness and your capacity to love and to forgive. See, that's easy to hate him. But it would take an incredible level of spiritual growth to recognize that we are not our bodies and what we are never dies. And that we are loved no matter what, and nothing happens without our soul's consent. Okay, but when you get to the level of what we're talking about right now, the danger of it is this: it can be so opposite and such a stretch from what we already believe that we will negate what we heard earlier, which is, if you want people who will support you and you want people who love you, decide to be a being who supports and loves yourself. It's focusing on a thought like that will make us change our mind. When we go to horrendous situations that's beyond our comprehension to forgive, that's nothing but a trick to keep us from doing the simple things that we could do to transform our life. Because those simple thoughts get lost when you're dealing with the, can I forgive Hitler? You see what I mean? Because you're not going to want to forgive Hitler. So when you go there, you'll forget that I'm a transmitter. And everything that's happening to me is coming from the vibrations that I'm putting out in the universe. And so if I was to really support myself, I would start to see more love surrounding me and in my life. See, that's immediately doable. So watch your ego. Your ego will always come up with ways that justify you not opening your heart. You're not loving yourself and others more. To maintain the world of fear that it has learned to manipulate in. We know our way around suspicion. We know our way around distrust. We know our way around not extending. We know our way around judgment. We know our way around that. But we don't know how to do unconditional love and forgiveness. So it would be a lot easier for me to just justify staying the way I am than it would be for me to take the risk of opening my heart and being vulnerable and being loving. Even though I'm saying I really want to be loved and I really want more love in my life. So shadow work, ego work, looking within is you stalking your own ego and getting in touch with all the tricks you play on yourself to keep you from knowing the joy and the happiness and the magnificence that you are. Mm-hmm. And that's what this stuff is about. You stalking your own ego. You learning how to recognize that part of you that's keeping you from having the kind of fulfillment that you say you want. Because it's very ingenious, and it's very inventive, and it's very subtle, and it's very sneaky, and it's very sly. And unless you learn how you sabotage yourself, unless you learn how you limit yourself, you'll never be able to transcend your limitations. So anybody that tells you that when you focus on what you think of as the negative part of yourself, you just create more of it, that's another trick to keep your ego intact. Because you cannot transcend something that you're not willing to look at and see that it's there and see how it operates. And that's why people run away from classes like this. Because most people are not ready to look under their own rug, to look in those dark places of their own basement. It's much easier to say it was my mama's fault, it was my father's fault, it's my mate's fault, it's my children's fault, it's society's fault, it's Obama's fault, it's the Congress' fault, it's the Republicans' fault, it's the Democrats' fault, it's the Tea Party's fault, it's everybody's fault. It's so easy to go that route than to go, what is it within myself that needs to change and be transformed in order for me to be happy and to let go of my blocks? What is it within me that hates and fears, that doesn't know how to be loving yet and doesn't even know what love is? What is it in me that's full of grievances that need to be released so I can finally know the joy that I deserve to have as a child of God? Now that's what it takes to be happy. And when you say that, you'll never have to go through that and do that by yourself and alone. You will have the help of God, the universe, and spirit, and everything that you can imagine will come to your aid to support you in transcending all limitations and limited beliefs about yourself. You will not be doing this on your own or by yourself. But once you sincerely say, what is it within me that needs to be healed in order for me to be the love that I was meant to be? And you no longer go, you. I try as best I can, and I don't always succeed, but I try as best I can to keep the word you out of a conversation when I'm trying to share something with somebody that needs to be healed. You should be left out. You getting ready to heal something, or you trying to work out something with somebody, get rid of you. You did this. You did that. You ought to do it differently. You ought to act differently. You. Every time you say you, this is what happened. You, separation. You, separation. You, separation. You, defense. You, defense. You, attack. You, defensive. The more you say you, the longer it's going to take to get a healing and a correction in that situation with that person, because they'll be so busy being defensive that they'll never hear a doggone thing you got to say. So it's I, me, I feel this, I see this, this is what's going on with me, this is what's happening with me, I hope I'm wrong, I want to see it another way, how can we look at this different, I really want peace in this situation, but this is what's happening for me, this is how I'm hearing you, this is what I'm feeling right now. That's the way you talk to people if you want to get past a block. And everybody in here is capable of doing that. Everybody in here is capable of doing that. But do you want to have a healing to the point that you would learn a new way to have a conversation with the person? But you have to learn it. Because, and then and what does it start with? It starts with me loving myself. Like you said, you believing and supporting yourself. Then you attract the people to you who will be supportive of you and be open to you and want another way to look at it. So am I saying that you should jump up and down and give a big hug to somebody that hurts a child? No. I'm saying that you should tell yourself the truth about how you feel about it and ask Spirit to give you another way to look at it. And go within and ask your own inner guide, how should I look at this? How should I relate to this? How should I deal in this situation? And I would love for love to be the way that I deal with it in this situation. But how can I do it that way? That's how you start. You start by merely asking without believing you have to know the answer at the very beginning. And that's how you change everything. Yes, Chris.
So what about when you come across that part of you that's just full of anger?
Chris, you know the answer to that. You know the answer to that. You've asked me that many times. I bet you know the answer to that.
Yeah.
What do you do, Chris, when you come across that part that's angry?
You feel it.
And what else do you do?
There's another way to look at it.
And what else?
I remain as God created me.
Thank you. It's like you're at the point that you know the answer to the questions that you're asking now. Now it's time for you to apply them consistently. And I don't mind you asking a question, as many questions as you need to. But I also have been around with you long enough to know you know the answer. Just like you did just then. Just like you said it just then. That's the answer. You know, you are incredibly powerful, beautiful beings. Notice the energy in the room now. It's heavier. It's heavier. And that was the purpose of the ego. To take that energy that was going like that and to bring it down now where everybody feels really heavy and they're running in their minds about, okay, what does this mean? How does that mean? How do you do the... See, that's the trick. Every time we go for the light, every time we go for the joy, every time we go for you deserve to be happy and stay with you deserve to celebrate life, we'll come up with something to discuss that'll suck all the energy out of the unity that we were just feeling. That's our ego trying to protect its separation. And that's how it works. That's how it works. Because there's a part of us that would much rather be afraid than to be vulnerable and open and trusting. So it's a lot easier to get back into the fear than it is to continue to expand in the love. And just check out how you feel and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll know your ego is defending now. Now I'm heavy. Oh, that's fear. That's the fear of joining, the fear of connecting, and the fear of opening our hearts. And it won't work. And that's the beauty of it. It won't work. Because I'm going to keep reminding you that that's what you deserve, and that's what you are, as long as you walk through that door or turn on the class that I'm teaching. I will not tell you that you're immortal, eternal, powerful, and deserve love, and that you are responsible for having that in your life, and no one else can do it for you. You have to do it with the support of everybody around you. And so I will not side with your ego, and I hope you won't side with my ego, so that we can go to the next level that we deserve, because we've had enough. It's time to be joyful now. It's time to love each other and love ourselves now. That's what I believe, and that's what I feel about you. Thank you for coming out tonight. Really spirit. Awesome. I appreciate you so much. So, we're going to do, let's do the financial expression of appreciation. I thank you for sharing with me. I'm a full-time teacher of this, and like I've said many times, I don't charge for the class because I want everybody to be able to come regardless of their financial situation, but I'm also doing this full-time. So I do appreciate God sharing with me through you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you know that there are some people that actually resent me receiving money because I teach a spiritual class? Yeah, as if I don't need to eat like everybody else, that I don't need to have a roof over my head, and that somehow or another it's a scam if you come to a spiritual class and somebody asks to receive money. That's a bunch of crap. I do not believe that. I deserve to receive as much as you do. No more than you do stuff that you do and would like to receive for it, I would too. You know, and when you get through working all week and your boss came up to you and just gave you a hug, you'd be pissed off. So this is what I do. You know, I deserve to receive just like you deserve to receive. And I don't mind saying that because it's the truth. It's the truth. I give from my heart. I deserve to receive too. And thank you online for the generosity that you show me. If you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and do it. And I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, where I'm able to work with you with whatever your issue is, apply these teachings to it and my knowledge of astrology and numerology, if you're open to it, to give you another way to look at it. You can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains it in detail. And we can get together and you can get past that block that you know you're tired of. And like I said, my sessions are less than a Broncos ticket. Okay? So go ahead and let yourself be supported and let yourself get past whatever the block is that you think you're going through right now. There are no original problems. 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 There's not a problem that an answer hasn't already been provided for us. What I found to be the challenge is, am I willing to do what the answer says? It's not, can I get the answer? The answer is going to usually be something that I didn't think of, and it's going to usually be something that's different from the way I've been handling it. And that's what makes it a challenge. But the answers are available right here, right now. So there's nothing you can ask me that I can't answer from what the course teaches, which is not the same as saying my wisdom. I can let you know, well, the course and the way of mastery and what I know from astrology and numerology and what I've been studying, this is what it says. This is how you could handle this to get a different result in terms of what you're dealing with right now. And so then it's up to you whether or not you want to act on the information that you're being given. And that's in direct proportion to whether you want to keep whatever the payoff is for what you've been doing. Because there is a payoff in it. Whatever your particular issue is that you haven't been able to deal with, there's a payoff in it for you. And until you're ready to let go of that payoff, there is no answer that you're going to receive that's going to work for you. So it's important to ask yourself, what is the payoff to me in being broke? What's the payoff to me when I'm not having relationships that feel fulfilling to me? What's the payoff for me in being on a job that I hate to go to every day? What is the payoff in keeping this grievance going with my relatives that I've had for 20 years? Because there is some payoff in it that you're not ready to let go of yet. And if you're ready to let it go, you don't even have to know what the payoff is anymore. You could just say, I know there's a payoff, but I'm willing now to look at it another way, and I'm willing to do something totally different. That's all you have to do. And the universe will rush to your support. God will rush to your support. That's the beauty of where we are. That's the beauty of who you are. So, take a breath. And we had another light way of mastery class. Take a breath. I want you to breathe. We brought up a lot of stuff. We stirred up a lot of stuff tonight. We stirred up. You know how to deal with being stirred up? You breathe. You take really deep breaths. And you say, I want another way to look at this. 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 I'm not trying to put you into my hands. I have no interest in being a leader or a follower. I want to walk with somebody beside me. And when you're a leader or a follower, you're not walking side by side. The purpose of my class is to help you want to remove the blocks to the awareness of love within you so that you can turn to your own inner guide. I want you to listen to your own inner guide. I want you to listen to your own inner guide. I want you to listen to your own inner guide. I want you to listen to your own inner guide. Don't put what I say, what your ministers, teachers, or anybody says before the feelings of your own being. I want you to go within and listen to your own being. Listen to your own being. The guidance is within you. You have God within you. You have spirit within you. You have love within you. I trust you. I trust you. I trust that you have the spirit of the divine within you. I trust you. I trust you are strong enough, smart enough, spiritual enough to follow your own light, to follow your own path. But remember, if you want support, if you want love, you have to support and love yourself. I want you to love yourself. I want you to love yourself. I want you to love yourself. 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 You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have. If you don't have love within you for yourself, it's impossible to have love to share with others. You can't give what you don't have. You can't give what you don't have. So don't try to love somebody else before you love yourself. You can't love somebody else really before you love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. Celebrate yourself. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you. You are a blessing. You are a priceless part of God's kingdom. I love you. I appreciate you. Sunday at 1 o'clock is the Course in Miracles class. I hope I see you there. And you are the light of the world. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? Would you really acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? Yeah. Give it up. You are fantastic. You are awesome. Awesome. And juicy. And cute.
Yeah.
That's what you are. Hugs are available. I appreciate you. Try not to analyze. Try not to analyze what we talked about. Try not to analyze it. Try not to analyze it. Just breathe with it and just be with it and ask God within you the way to look at it.
Whoa. Wow.